Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Uh, Good morning, everyone. Very good morning to all. It's a very pleasant morning to all of you. On behalf of Sri Ramakrishna Institute of On behalf of Sri Ramakrishna Institute of Computer Education and Applied Sciences, I, Dr. Charmi Patel, welcomes you all in this 3-day online workshop of online ReactJs. Fine. Without wasting your time, I just introduce our today's session's presenter, Mr. Milind Kolte, who is a senior team lead at Halois Solution, Baroda. Expertise in
તમે અનમ્યુટ થઈ ગયા છો. ઓકે 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 ઓકે. હા હું
Hello.
તમે
I'm audible. Yeah, I'm
હા
audible
હા
to all. Okay. Good morning. Sorry for the inconvenience. Yeah. Okay. So uh, I am up to, once again, I said that Milind is our alumni student and he has a keen expertise in .NET Core, Web API, MVC, and MERN stack and mean stack. So now, without wasting any further time, I just hand over the session to the Milind. Milind, please carry on.
First of all, thank you so much for arranging such a session. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity as to deliver this webinar. As all of you know, I am the past student of this institute, and being an alumni, it was an exciting moment for me my topics, which is related to the single page application. And but before single page application, I would like to go with the highlights and how I am went through how I switched to the front end technology from switch to the full stack development from the back end thing. So it was my past history that I am the .NET guy. So previously, I have started my career in 2013 in the joined as a junior developer in the Helios Solutions in Baroda, and at that time, I am joined as a .NET developer. So gradually, I am learning a lot as a .NET developer. But then after the trends varied and front end technologies demands in the market. So what happens is one of the experience which I faced during my career is during my 7 year of career. That is, one website needs to be developed which is related to the football Premier League, which is completely based on the loosely coupled and how the website should throw the content to the website. As you all aware that we all are habituated to looking at Indian IPLs and match on fixed search on the TV. So you know that the live streaming is done at these type of websites. That how this, but do you know how this streaming and all this happens? So for that thing, we do not rely on the multiple page application. Multi-page application, you all is aware that we are developing the website and the multiple pages like the HTML pages, and then it serves it builds the whole website. So that's where we have got a challenge, that how we can make the football Premier League website. So at that time, we found lots of technologies which is related to the front end technology, but there are still some of the loopholes in the front end technologies, like how we can avoid the CSS loading, how we can avoid the performance for the first time, how we can avoid the JS loading. So that type of challenges we were facing at that time. And at that time, one of the JavaScript was introduced by Google, Rob Eisenberg, which is who has actually developed one front-end technology, which is actually the true single-page application, that is the Aurelia. So we have chosen that Aurelia technology for our football Premier League, and that's where we have started the development. So development was like the development was like not the developing the pages, but we have created just one page and rendered a whole Premier League website into the multiple pages. But you will not know that this website is the single page application. Whenever you will be looking at that website and going through that website, you will just know that yes, this is the multiple page website, but it renders this every content dynamically into the single page application. So likewise, in the left hand side, the football counter means the next match starts in how much time. So in the next 2 hours, the first round of the football Premier League is started. The second round, which are the fixtures, which are the tables, or so this is how we have arranged the whole application into the component base. That is the one widget. Widget, we can say the component. So these all terms we are going through this session. So yes, let's get started first. And yes, before we go to the single page application, I believe that you all have an experience of the basic knowledge of the CSS, HTML, and the JavaScript, so that when I will explain you, it can be easy for you guys to understand what are the basic terms of the JavaScript, HTML, and CSS while I will presenting some of the concepts. But honestly, guys, today's session will be the purely the conceptual session, because single page application development is not that much easy. Likewise, we are developing the HTML websites normally this is the traditional websites, and for the single page website development, we need a lot of concepts to be clear first. That's why the first session to be the more conceptual than the practical sessions. So yes, I will explain you one of the every concepts of the single page applications, and then we will go forward with the question and answers. And if you have, so let me share my screen and turn off my video so that that bandwidth can be uh, uh, saved. So give me a moment. Yes. So, ma'am, are you able to see my screen, which is related to the single page application PPT?
Yes, Milin. Yes, Milin. Just be on presentation mode. Please start the presentation mode.
Okay, okay. Yes.
Okay, Milin, go ahead. It's fine.
Yes. Okay. So first of all, the single page application. This is the term. This is not. This is term, but it evolves from very basic concepts and the challenges the developers and the users facing while experiencing the web, while experiencing and interacting with the websites. So the first of all, most of the cases while we are interacting with the websites, users are most irritated when the pages takes times to load. So that's where the concepts come, how we can reduce the time, how we can reload the time, how we can increase the page reload time, how we can increase the SEOs, how we can increase the page ranking and all that stuff. So so that our page will get faster reload, and how we can improve the users experience, UX experience for the users. So these are the topics we will cover. That is, the first of all, we will go with the traditional website approach. What are the traditional, how traditional website is developed, how traditional website is interacting with the uh, browser, how the term evolves, what is the single page application, what are the challenges, and what are the takeaways. So takeaways are like the summaries of what we will going through with this presentation. So let me go with this. So traditional website. So as you all aware that web applications are unwittingly replacing the old websites, old desktop applications. So you all are aware that old desktop applications are very faster. Desktop application, we can use it faster because everything is at our desktop. The database, server rendering, the code, and everything is, so it is bundled into the one exe. And that's why whenever we will be installing it in our application, it will be and it is in our application, it will have the support of the platform, it will have support of our desktop, RAM, ROM, everything, storage. That is the main thing why the desktop applications are loading very fast. It's not the loading, it's executing the fast. So that so similar concepts most of the users users wants for the web application as well, because nowadays no one want to use the desktop application just for the portability purposes. Because if I am staying at the remote location and I want to access my application, that's where the limitations come. The desktop application cannot serve that purpose. So at that time, the website comes in the picture. That's why we always make a website for our purposes. So websites are serves that purpose, but while fulfilling that purpose, the main challenges we facing whenever the users interaction increases, the page loading time, the site slowing issue, the page content loading issue, those all issues are coming. So how we can overcome these things for the web application? So there are more convenient to use. They are more. This websites should be more convenient to use. They are easy to update. They are not bound to one device. So if we will look at the websites, those are current traditional websites are bound to the devices. The device, if I can say that devices are like the desktop device, Android device, and iPhone device, because nowadays website two types of website exist, but traditional websites are not that much responsive. I'm damn sure that you are all aware about the responsive term. The responsive is something like we can load our website in every devices, every size of devices. Like the website you develop in the web browser, for the web browser, desktop browser, it should load for the uh, for mobile browser as well, or iPhone. Mobile can be Android or iPhone. So that's where there are some of the techniques we use for implementing the responsiveness for the website. So what are those responsive? How we can achieve those responsiveness is like with CSS. So I think I believe that you all are aware of the CSS, that how the CSS can be incorporated with websites development. So uh, traditional websites are using traditional websites are using the CSS and JavaScript extensively, and that's why because of the CSS and JS, these websites taking much more time to load. The first case for loading issue is the CSS and JavaScript every time it's loaded when we traverse the pages. So yes, so even though the users are gently moving from the browser-based web application into mobile ones, the demand for the complex and the refined apps is already huge and is still growing. So currently in the market, no one wants the traditional website which is only bound to the specific web browser or web desktop browser. So everyone wants that my website should be accessible in the mobile as well. My website should be accessible everywhere. It should not have any foundation of the desktop, mobile, any device. If I can have a browser in any device, I can access my website. That's it. So that's where the demand is grow, and it's a growing and the demand is growing a very high. Currently, due to the pandemic, all are aware that due to the COVID-19 situation, currently all are moving to the cloud solutions. But for the cloud solutions, the websites are the part of the cloud solutions. So first step for the moving to the cloud is, if you do not have the website, you must have to develop the one website. So in this pandemic, all are now thinking that no, website is more feasible solution for such a pandemic, such a emergency situations. We cannot stop our business. We cannot influence our users to install the application, install the things. So That's where the websites are also growing right now. But yes, page loading time and site slowness issue, that's where the challenges still exist in the traditional website. So if we are thinking that if we want to create a one web application, so you have probably heard that you probably all have heard that two patterns. I believe patterns. You all are aware the patterns, but let me introduce what are the patterns first. So patterns are actually patterns are actually the rules and regulations. Patterns are actually standard sets of the rules, standard sets of instructions, and standard sets of protocols which needs to be followed for the followed while we are developing some of the things, some of the logic or some of the program. So if we can take an example that what are the example of the patterns that all are most favorite pattern, all might be aware of, you all are aware of, that is the singleton pattern. So what the singleton pattern is, actually the singleton pattern is pattern which is responsible to create a one instance of the object. So one instance of the object is like whenever I will access my object, creating an object, and the second time if I am again requesting that object, at that time if the memory have, if our object has initialized and it's created in the memory, that's where, so it will give you that existing object only. So that is the responsibility of the singleton pattern. So that's how the here it's also applicable, the patterns concept. So pattern concept is like the multiple page application pattern and the single page application pattern. So or we can say the pattern or the term, both are the vice versa we can use. But patterns, we can say patterns will be most appropriate word for these uh, thing, because pattern evolves whenever any challenges, when the pattern comes, because that when we are facing any challenges and if we will be having any solution and that solution is overcoming that problem, that's where the pattern comes. So that's why for these term as well, I can we will use the single page application pattern. So before we turning our idea into the real application, how you have to answer a bunch of important questions first that we will discuss later on. But how you can decide the app model is better for you. So how you will decide that this website is better for you. So you should follow the content first approach. You should follow the model first approach. You should follow how the model, how your website should be driven, how your users are interacting with your website. That's where you will start the developing of your website. So this is the concept. This is the things you should follow. You should have first idea before developing the website. So that's where the
Hello, Milin. Sorry to
comes.
interrupt you. Your slide is stuck on only one traditional website. Just check it
Yes,
once.
yes. The concept is only there still.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, no problem.
yes. So yeah. So before this traditional website, moving forward to the traditional website, so which are the best friends of the traditional website is like the HTML, CSS, and JS. That's it. So best friends is like while we are developing the traditional website, that is, we can say the multiple page application pattern website. So here we all involved with the HTML, CSS, and JS. So we write the HTML, we write the CSS, and we write the JS for the client side scripting or any other animations, or if we wanted to give the animation for the uh, website. So these are the main components, and these components are also be used in the single page application. But this terminology slightly be different with slightly be used differently with single page applications. Like there are lots of the frameworks like Angular, React, Vue.js, Ember.js. how the CSS and JS is reacting, how we can integrate the JS into the single page application. That's terminology is quite different. So here, in the traditional website, the HTML, CSS, and JS, we have the three files: HTML, CSS, and JS file. That's it. So how the multiple page application works? So might be you do not know how the request is served while you are traversing the web links or URLs, but try to demonstrate at your end first. When you will have getting a time for while like if you are accessing the Facebook next time or LinkedIn next time, just look at Facebook is the single page application first of all, so you will not get an idea for that, but you will get not idea, but Yahoo, if you will load the Yahoo in your browser, at that time you will have the idea of how the request is being served. So lots of the request and lots of requests are fired from the browser to the server end, and the request are not only the data fetching request, but it is also requesting the JS, HTML sites, CSS, and all that stuff. So application, the browser first requests the content that please give me the requested page. So at that time, what happens? The server responds back to the request with the HTML page, and then again HTML content. So at that time, what happens? HTML we will be having at the server side, and with that every other resources comes, but it will be in the form of the link. So suppose if the one HTML is loaded, suppose if we are loading, if we will be having any page to be loaded into the browser, at that time the first CSS is getting loaded, JavaScript is getting loaded, and then after the whole HTML will get rendered. So this thing takes time. This thing takes time for loading the whole website, and it will a quite irritating experience for the user that my site is getting slower. So consider the scenario when you are serving a lot of high content on the websites, like if we can take the Premier League website. So if we are doing the developing the website in the multi-page applications, our Premier League website, IPL. So just imagine that if we want live streaming for the website, if we want live streaming of the score, if we want live scorecard of the players, tables, run cards, how the all things will be managed into the pages. So we need to move it to the other link, and then again clicking on the other link will take the time and will take time to load every resources. So the experience is quite irritating first of all. So previously we are habituated with such type of websites application access, but nowadays technology is growing, trends is also moving at the other side. Technology trend is also moving to the other side, and first of all, the first main aspects of every website, web application, or any applications development was to improve the performance. So that's where we always think about how we can improve the performance, how we can improve the browser loading time. So here in the traditional approach, the browser traditional approach, every time you fire the URL, the CSS and JavaScript getting loaded every time, even the HTML content as well, with the dynamic content. So that's the pitfall of main multiple page applications. So here you can see. So here you can see the notes, the sticky notes. These notes and these papers are we can compare with the multiple pages. Like if you wanted to stick out one page, then you have to go through first link, then second link, and then third link. So that and this link, this traversing from one page to two page, second link to second link to third link, increases the time with loading, resource consuming. So that is very bad thing nowadays for the websites. So how the SPA term evolved? So how the SPA term evolved? Just a minute. So a single page application is a website design approach where each new page's content is served not from loading the HTML pages, but generated dynamically through the JavaScripts. JavaScript has the ability to manipulate the DOM elements on the existing page itself. So how this term evolved is now we have the idea why the single page application is trending nowadays, and why we wanted to develop our why we should develop our application into the single page application. So this is the first of all, the what are the components of the single page application is like single page application do not render. Single page application do not render. Mark my words that single page application do not render HTML pages. It renders the content into the HTML dynamically using the power of JavaScript and the DOM manipulation. So these two techniques are most important concept while we are developing the single page application. So we will look into the DOM and the JavaScript concept as well going forward with this session. But for now, we will have an idea. We will just have a term that JavaScript and the DOM manipulation is a most important component, most important concept for the single page application. So so nowadays, as you all are aware that modern browsers are coming. Modern browsers are means Chrome, Firefox, Edge. We do not know the Internet Explorer is not behaving way. So Internet Explorer have lots of we can say the pitfalls for accessing the JavaScript because of the Microsoft restricting the JavaScript to be loaded into the IE in such a different way. So we do not think while you are developing the single page application, we mostly do not consider the Internet Explorer as a modern browser, because Internet Explorer, the rendering engine of the browser, we should also have the concept. We will also learn the concept going forward. What is the rendering engine? How the browser is rendering the pages into the website, into the browser. So that's where the rendering engine comes. So these are the modern browsers. Modern browser in terms of the rendering, modern rendering engine like the Gecko and all other stuffs, WebKit, and that is those are the rendering engines behind the scenes, which is actually which is actually converting the HTML and DOM things into the browser related language, and then generates the pages for us. So yes, and nowadays JavaScript is become more powerful. So why I'm telling the JavaScript becomes more powerful, because previously we only know that JavaScript has ability to perform animation stuff into the website, onto the website. JavaScript has only ability to make any DOM manipulation. DOM manipulation in case of hiding one element, showing one element, and if we wanted to any in place the logic or the client side validations. So such things, only for such things we were previously using the JavaScript, and that's where the JavaScript also evolves. That we should not limit. The JavaScript developers also think that we should evolve this JavaScript in such a way that we should not have the dependency on the server side as well. So nowadays, server-side JavaScript engines, server-side servers are also available for the Java, loading the JavaScript website. So if I am using the term that is server, that's where two types of server we have in the mind. That is, first server is the backend server. Backend is like most powerful platform where everything is hosted. That is one server. The second server is like whenever you will be using the using or developing the single page application. Single page application requires one engine. It requires one engine first to convert that convert your code into the language which browser understand. So that's where the servers are also coming. There are the node servers and all other servers, webpack servers and all other things. So these are the components. Those are very much in the detail, but these are the things while you will develop the reach application using the with a single page application, the concepts comes gradually, and you will be having an idea of what are those server and what are the responsibility of server. HTML, fine. So thank God we have the HTML5 nowadays, because previously HTML5 have lots of limitations, like only tags are there only. But nowadays lots of other things we can achieve using the HTML5 video tag, all the links and all other stuff. And yes, the UX, more focus on the UX stuff. So previously the websites are developed in very convention manner. Like if we are delivering the content based website, we only have an idea that yes, this is the thing, this needs to be developed in such a way and this to be rendered in such a way. So if you are developing one page, that page should be rendered. If you are developing one static page which is actually delivering a one news article, so that's where you will only write a HTML for that, and there will not be any UX experiences on that, because that is the static page. But nowadays UX experience is much important rather than you developing a website. It may be a single page, it may be a static website, or it can be a dynamic website, but UX should be a much better for the user. So UX terms is actually the user experience. So how the user is experiencing while he is interacting with your website is a much more important nowadays. So which changes are required if we are moving from the traditional website to the single page application website? Which changes we require? So first of all, the app-like user experience. So what is app-like user experience? So app-like user experience is like currently all are used to with the Android apps and iPhone apps. So Android apps and iPhone apps are like you open up and start using it. But do you know how these applications are serving? Currently, there are two terms in the market that we can develop apps. That is the native apps using the Android apps and iPhone apps, or the second app is like you create a one container like app and develop a single page application and load it into the app. So you won't realize that this application is actually the website while you are accessing it in your mobile. So if I can give you one example of app-like user experience, so you can say the Times of India widget. Times of India app. You have the Times of India app. Might be all have installed the Times of India app in their application, in their app phone. So if you will go into the IPL 2020 tab, so IPL 2020 tab is and in that in the local and the briefs links are considered. So those things are coming from the websites dynamically directly. So how these contents are served is like the part of those pages are developed as a web component, web pages, and directly delivered to the web application. So those things are app-like user experience when we will require app-like user experience to be served for our targeting audience. And yes, the faster UI and more interactive. The faster UI is like we previously discussed that whenever we will be accessing the website, it should not load, it should not take the time more than 1 second, 2 seconds. So seriously, guys, based on my experience, the client experience, which I was faced almost every time is like we have to increase our website performance. The first page of we can say the first landing page. The landing page should not take more than the 500 milliseconds. So currently all are aware that any website we are loading into the browser, it takes always 1, 2, or 3 seconds based on how much resources we have attached with that page. But irrespective of any pages, what I faced in my during my career is like more than 500 milliseconds is very much intolerable experience for the audience. So that's where the performance needs to be improved for the applications, traditional websites, pages, be able to work offline. So be able to work offline is like if you do not have internet capabilities at that time as well, your application should serve the purpose. So if I can take one example of be able to work offline, like single page snippet stuff, and if we are checking anything like other than the live streaming, the content should be cached in your browser. So browser caching is also important in the single page application, how the caching is works, but that's a very deep topic for working offline capabilities of the single page application. So this the be able to work offline is like whenever you are navigating from one page to second page, if you are logged in user, if you are admin users at that time as well, suppose considering one example of admin panel of product, managing the products. So how if I am adding the products into the admin side, and that's admin panel, and adding the product, it should cache that products data as well, along with the changes what we have done. So those type of thing, whenever we will be required, at that time we can choose the single page application or this pattern. The support multiple platforms. The support multiple platforms is like what I have told everyone is that browser compatibility, Android, iPhone devices, and Macintosh devices. Those type of, whenever your the website is always portable, but but you should not do the code for every platforms. First of all, as a developer, as a web application developer, and as a developer, we should consider a way that how we can reduce the line of code, how we can how we can reuse the content, how we can reuse the component, how we can reuse the pages which we have already developed so far, for our application and serve the purposes for other devices. So that's where as well the single page application satisfies this purpose. In the traditional website, you have to do a lot of things that component for the Android and iPhone. For Android and iPhone, the some of the browser tags are not working. So in that way, we have to attach some of the scripts, some of the CSS. But single page frameworks are coming with all such of overcoming with all such of anomalies. So while you will use any framework like the Angular, React, Ember, ReactJs, those frameworks have already considered such things in mind. So this is where single page application is go. So yes, so these are the examples of the single page application. These are the example of the single page application: Twitter, Gmail, and Facebook. You can play with it, and yes, these are the life cycle of the traditional page website, traditional page, and a single page. In the single page, you can see that a request is initiated, HTML is served, and then again this client is requesting only the data, and the data is being only rendered. So, but if you will go into the traditional website life cycle, that's where the initial request is come. Client is requesting HTML page, server is giving back HTML page, and page is reloading. Again, client is requesting the page. At that time as well, page is reloaded. So that's where the single page application reducing the page reload cycle as well. So what are the benefits of the single page application? Are no page flicker. So while you will be interacting with the single page application, so there will not be any flickering, JavaScript based rendering, and the whole application is based JavaScript based rendering, better UX, and the faster interaction. So how this no flickering magic is working? So if you can see the example of the static website, here in the blue links, the first link, second link, and third link. So first link, if you are clicking on the first link, at that time page is fetched, and then it is giving you a data. But whenever in the single page application, if you are clicking on the first link, at that time only you will get one message below, that is you have clicked on the 0 links. So that's where that's how easily we can interact, how easily we can put up the things in the single page application. So what are the principles which matters in the includes in the single page application? That is the performance matters for the single page application. Things you do not you did on the server now live in the browser. Means whatever you were doing in the server side, now it is at the client side now. So render with the JavaScript library. So everything is now rendered with the JavaScript library, like JavaScript libraries like AngularJS, ReactJs. Those are the JavaScript library we can consider. And you use CSS3 and design with the offline in mind. So how can I build a single page application? So these are the frameworks right now available in the market. That is the Backbone.js, AngularJS, Ember, Knockout, U, and ReactJs. Seriously, guys, I have an experience. I do not have an experience of the Backbone, Ember, and Knockout, but as I heard, those are also a good single page application frameworks. But I have a much more exposure in the AngularJS and the ReactJS. So Angular is a very rich framework, like how the .NET is. And React is like the JavaScript library, we can say. AngularJS is a framework, we can say, for the single page application. Everything is there. That is like a component that is like the compilation, transpiler. If anything you wanted to attach with, everything is there. And React is like React is a more open source JavaScript library built on the top of the ECMA and JavaScript. So, and for the next in the next two session, you will know about the what is React and how the React is interacting with the component and development of the component. So how is it this single page application? Now you know, but is it really easy to develop that things uh, into the and incorporate everything into the single page application? No, you have to gain a knowledge of every frameworks, everything, every other stuff, concepts like the binding, how you can interact with the component, how the if we will be having only one page and one page is rendering the multiple sections, the how one section will communicate with other section if a certain dependency is there. Like if you are clicking on page, that at that time the page is rendered, but if you are clicking on something like show me the records, show me the most uh, trending pages of this product or available products at that, and the second widget is right after that widget. So in that case, we the section intercommunication should involve. So just a minute, if I can explain you. Yes. So these yes. So this is one library. Sorry, this is one JavaScript framework, that is Aurelia. So this website is also built on the framework itself, the Aurelia framework. And as you can see, if I am loading the page, the only first time it's getting loaded, and then after, if you will see the no flickering issue, no content reloading. This section is see, this is the left component, this is the right component, how these components are getting arranged in one pages. So this is the whole one single page application, in which left content is the navigation, the side navigation with the guidelines, and this right one is the content. So if I am clicking on the fundamentals, at that time it is loading the fundamental data stuff, and with these everything is updated here as well. So these are the sections, these are, we can say, the widget, or this is the navigation component, side navigation component, this is the footer, header. So this page is divided into the multiple sections, this page is divided into the multiple components, and these components are inter communicating with each other. So how this intercommunication is happened, that we will learn while you will go into much detail in the going forward in the ReactJs and the framework you were using. So the most challenging portion of the single page application is the SEO optimization. So you all are, I think, most of the things, most of the time, you all are having an experience that if you are browsing one product, like if you are browsing one stationary item, pen, cello pen. So and the second time, if you are again visiting that thing, so you will be having some of the similar stuff is happening, or you are making the key, or if you are browsing some of the keywords like COVID-19. So if you are second time you are typing the COVID-19, the most visited website comes into the Google first link, as a Google first link. So how this happens is we always have the keywords, meta tags, and all the things handled in the multiple page application. Traditional websites have the meta tags and all other stuff, but how about the single page application? So single page application do not interact with SEO directly. So at that time, what happens is uh, it will at that time we will render the page at the server. So what is actually the server? The server is the node server or any JavaScript library server, which compiles the whole page written into any framework, any language, that is the React or Angular, and it converts the whole application into the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and attach the tags and all other stuff. So rendering is at the server side, and then it will give the server to the page. So that's how the SEO stuff will happen in the single page application. So yes, the caching and lazy loading. So single page application comes with the caching and lazy loading. Lazy loading is like do not load everything at first. Whenever page is requested, at that time only you load. But that loading is also should be optimized. So that's where the lazy loading concept comes into the picture. So in the traditional website, everything comes, even if user has not requested, the everything comes at first, and that's lacking. So lazy loading and these concepts are uh, most important concept, and we will always have these concepts part of the development, because the framework is designed in such a way that you will not, if you will not use such concept, your single page application is also bound have also will give you a problem of loading issue. Yes, the most important concept is the push state concept and the HTML5 push state. So what are the push states? So just an example of these, consider the URL. Ma'am, are you able to see my screen, which is related to the Aurelia website?
Yes, yes, Milind. Yes, Milind. It's
Yes.
visible.
Oh. So if you can see here the Aurelia IO docs, these are the URL. So whenever I am loading the thing, whenever I am hitting the URL, it is loading the page. So how this page is working is behind. So at that time, the browser's push state is working. Push state is a concept which is actually recording the URLs, navigations of the website, and then giving back us the result. So if you are going to the overview and clicking on the going to the overview page, it is giving you this whole section. So if you will go back to the docs page again, it will not load again. The JavaScript not take the time for loading, but it will give you these this page will be loaded from the browser caching, and the whole page will be loaded from the browser caching. So might be you fall into one question that if the browser is serving from the caching, then how I can get the latest data. So it is not related to the data, it is related to the caching of the HTML and the resources which is already bound to this page. So whenever you are traversing to each and every links into the single page of applications, web application, at that time the browser push state works behind, and recording every pages, and making a stack of these URL with these resources. So whenever user is requesting again that URL, at that time, if it will first check that if I have already recorded this page before. If it is recorded, then it will give you back from the that cache stack. Otherwise, it will request to the server for serving that page. So this is the push state. So these are the push state APIs. So HTML5 is comes with HTML5 comes with this more this exciting feature, that is the push state. So push state is a very important concept which will play a role of not reloading the page every time. So understanding the history API. The history API is a replace state and a history push state. Replace state is something like replacing the URL, and the push state is like pushing the state. Like if we will be having a new page traversing, then it will record and push into the state. So it is a state like the session state, like something into the browser caching. So this is the demo of how the push state is working. Currently, you can see one screen related to the kittens. So if you will click on the fluffy, at that time that page is coming. So clicking on the socks again, if fluffy is coming, at that time you will. So if you will see in the background, I think most of the web developers are habituated with these developer tools and these network resources. So whenever any pages are clicked here, data request, every request is captured into the network. So you see no any requests are coming requested for the page loading. So this is how the page is loading into the JavaScript and browser only. There is no role of any server. There is no role of requesting a page to the server, but it is only giving you a page from the state. Yes, but if you will be having any dynamic data instead of this cat, this picture is coming dynamically from the server. At that time you will be having only API calls to integrate the data with this section. Yes. So this is where this is what the push state is. The backspace key is not equal to the back key of the browser's back key, and the backspace key navigation is not equal. So previously we will be having a backspace navigation. So whenever you are doing the backspace navigation, it is reloading the pages but in the browser push state, if browser has already recorded that page, at that time if you are navigating back, so it will giving you a page without reloading. So that is where the push state is coming. So while you are developing the single page application, so how these things happen. So you do the code, everywhere. Means if you are choosing a server application like the .NET to serving the data to the website, so .NET is a backend and front end is a Angular or React we can consider. So client and server code is separated. Previously we will be having if we can consider a one example that is related to the ASP.NET MVC website. So HTML page is also there, CHTML page is also there, and every the code related to rendering the HTML data or MVC data is also at the server side. But now what will happen? Now the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript related stuff resides at the client side, that is the front end side, and the server side is already related to the data communication. So that's where the API comes into the picture. So single page application always comes with the API integration concept. So these are the interesting concepts which we learned, that is the lazy loading, browser push state, dependency injection is the pattern which is actually injecting the one of the resources and giving you a one component, templating over observable and binding. These two concepts are actually not followed by every single page application frameworks. React is not following, but if you will go into the Angular side, Angular JS, so Angular is following the observable and binding concept. So binding is what is the binding? So binding is like if you will be having, so considering again that example, the website example. So what is binding? Uh, So what is binding actually? So binding is like if you are binding input type, if you are binding a value to the text control, at that time, if you make at that time input control will take an action that yes, the variable is binded with me and I have to show some variable. But in the two-way binding and one-way binding is like one way is like flows the data from one direction from one direction to other. Like if you are inputting something into the text box and at the same time you are getting the output. So that is what the two-way binding. And one-way binding is like if only I typing something and you are not getting anything. So in the traditional approach, while you are submitting the form, you are only taking the text inputs. That is the one way. But in the single page, but in the two-way binding application, two-way binding components, if you are binding, if you are having any text box which will be having a two-way binding enabled, so at that time what will happen if you are typing something, here, and you will be having a results of that text search below of your control. So that is where the two-way binding picture comes. So how this two-way binding is working is with the concept of the observable. So observable is a concept which observes one variable. So what is the observable variables do? It is uh, it will look at the variable in the memory, and any references of the variable changed at that time, it gives the instruction to the framework that these variable change, so just reflect the new value. So this is the work of the observable. So these are the takeaways what we have went through the single page application concept, that is the traditional website HTML, JS, CSS, server based application, and the principles which are related to the challenges, SEO, and slow initial pages. So if you have any questions, then we can discuss it. Or if you wanted to take a break, 2 minutes.
Uh, Yeah, Milind, it's good. It's good to having that before going to the React, they must be aware of the introduction part and the concept. Okay, how can we work with the single page application? So it's very good that you clear all that concept regarding single page application. So whatever you saw in Aurelia, is there any other way or other resources available for that to manage that? Milin, over to you.
Yes, means related to the concepts, or if you wanted to have an idea of or the concepts of the observable bindings and all other stuffs.
Okay, so Aurelia is the best resource to do to perform this to manage all this.
No, Aurelia is not the best thing. We can say it will be, it can change based on the requirement what we will be having. But as per why I took a demo of the Aurelia, because of currently Angular and all other applications we will be having. Aurelia is a very basic single page application, comes with the all concepts, because the Aurelia, Aurelia framework itself developed by the team member, the Google Angular team member who has left the Google and started the its framework. So so Aurelia is much simpler, much to develop a very content based application. Like if you wanted to start with a content based application, CMS type of website or pages, but wanted to give experience of single page application, faster UX, we can go with the Aurelia. But nowadays trending technologies are like Angular and the React. Aurelia
Yes.
is used for the static and all other things, but Angular and React are very trending. So based on the requirement, we will be having Angular and React can be chosen. But if anyone have any developer or anyone have the very good hands-on on the JavaScript, then one can go with React.js, because React.js requires a lots of concepts to be clear first to go to start with the development. So that's why I have covered this session with all the concepts. Although it's a longer, but it
Yeah.
is required to go, because React is not the technology, technology which is only comply with the JavaScript. It is comes with every
Yes.
concept. Whenever you will be having, you will develop the component. The reach application does not only involves the input and output, but it's also involves the intercommunication between the components. So if we choose the React.js application, so one can have the very good hands-on on the React JavaScript library and the concepts of the single page application. And Angular is like Angular is like, we can say, the .NET and Microsoft type of stuff,
Yes.
because it is much easier to develop, much easier develop the application, big application in the Angular, because they have the separation of concern, separation of components based library, test cases related development, and everything is very separated. So in the React, there are a lot of things mixed into the one component. But Angular comes with a very separated concept. Like if you wanted to develop a one page, so if you wanted to develop a one page, and then you have to create one component, this CSS library to be attached with, and these are the stuff. So Angular and React, we can I can say that one can go with.
Okay. Good. Thank you for to clearing this concept. Now you can move ahead for the next topic.
Yes. So yes. So before I move forward to other, which is related to the DOM, document object model, it is also, I'm again telling you that it is also the conceptual thing. But you, I am aware that you all are habituated with this concept, but you do not know the term. So let me share my screen again, and let me know when you can see the screen. Yes. So are you able to see my screen? Document object model PPT.
No, it's not share yet. You have to share it
Okay.
once.
Okay. Sorry. Yes. Let me share my screen first.
Yeah.
Okay. Now.
Yes.
Okay. So this session, this PPT will actually contains the concepts related to the document object model and the new JavaScript. The JavaScript, but the advanced JavaScript, we can say the ES6. The ES6 is a standard which is the ECMA standard. We can say the ECMA. We do not pronounce it ECMA because ECMA is something like very. It's pronounced as a disease name. So it's a full form. The full form of ECMA is very big. That I will explain you right after this. European standard for the scripting. So this is related to mainly for how the single page application will interact with the document object model and with the help of the new ES scripts. So how the document actually, so what is the document object model? So document object model is like the JavaScript arranges the objects into a document object model. So document object model is like if you are having a one web application which is having one HTML page, and HTML page is rendered into the browser. So just a minute. So HTML page rendered into the browser. So HTML page is rendered into the browser. So at that time, how the browser will know that I have to load this page, HTML page, how this page should show the animation, how this page should react with other component. So that's where the document object model concepts comes. So the document object can be thought of the hierarchy of moving from the one most genera, means related to the tags and all that stuff. It's the object. So everything on the HTML page, that is the anchor tag, HTML tag, head tag, input type of tag, radio button, checkbox, frame tag, iframe tag, that can be considered as an object for the particular document. So document is like what you are seeing at your at the browser. That is that is the concept of the document. Object is like the tags which are residing into the document, and models are like how these document and object are interacting with the models. So models are the binding and other stuff. So these whole three terms combines as a document object model. So now so I think now you get cleared of what is the document object model. So let me share my screen again with the same website, and if I am viewing my page source, so this is my document. Ma'am, you can see my screen, right? Website document, website page. So I think okay. So you can see my screen that related to the Aurelia website, and if you are clicking onto the page and viewing the source, these all tags are considered as an object. So if we can say object, this is the body tag, this is the main tag, this is the header tag, this is the article tag. These all tags considered into the memory as an object. So these objects, how these objects and models are interacting internally, that's what we are right now looking at. So how the user interface is built, and how the experience. So which are the browser components for document object model, and how these browser interacting with the DOM. So pages. So whenever the page is requested user interface, you will see. So user interface will be loaded at that time. Browser engine comes into the picture, browser engines request to the rendering engine that please give me the please give me the pages converted into the rendering language so that I can move forward those page to the browser engine, and again browser engine give to the user interface simply with the UI. So this is the browser components. Whenever you are loading the website, these components comes into components plays the roles of loading each page. So this is the document object model. So main object of the document DOM is the window. So window is a one variable. You all are aware of these all concepts, but the term which is the document object model you probably not be aware. So I am damn sure that window and frame and all you have been participated and all have got chance to work on all these tags, that is the frame tag, event tag. But these all tags are part of which object that you probably not be aware. So this document object model has one parent, one key object, that is the window, and the frame. In that frame, under the window, frame, event, history, all these tags are coming as an object. So under the frame, the document object is there. So document is also one object. We can say document dot get element by ID, document dot these ID. So these are these are the tags. Whenever you will be interacting with pages, this plays the roles of, if you are clicking the button object will comes into the picture. Checkbox object, if you are checking the checkbox will play its role. So this is so what are the objects? So document object, anchor object, event object, form and form input object, frame set, iframe objects, image objects. So the anchor objects is like if you are clicking on any links, so how the anchor objects is working internally is it will be interacting with the browser posted history API, and then history API is giving back you to the result. So this is the object. These are the objects mainly participated into the web UI interaction while a user is interacting in the browser. So these are the DOM hierarchy. So these are the DOM events. So what are the DOM events? Now you all will have the idea what I am talking about. This is the onload event is a DOM event. So why it is called is a DOM event is like body is a document object model. So body tag is also considered as a one document object. So onload is and onload is a event. So that's where the DOM events comes in. DOM events keyword comes into the picture. So when clicking onto the body, DOM events onload DOM event, it will give you a result when body is loaded. So whenever body is unloaded means if you are navigating back to the other page, so at that time unload event will be fired. So these are the events, and these events are these events are happen during the data entry. So whenever the first user tabs into the input field, the focus event will be fired first internally. So focus event will first give the instruction to the document object that input has now the focus event. Again, so this is the internal. It is not attaching any processes. So if this is the external thing, onload and unload is external. So this is we are managing if we wanted to certain things happens during the onload and unload. But while you are doing the data entry and you do not have mentioned anything explicitly, at that time these browser handles internally focus event. If you are typing anything, the change event will be happen, and if you are leaving the text work, that time the blur event will be fired. So these series of events happened during the interaction of the text box, and due to these only this text box can be interacted by the user. Otherwise, if the events will not be fired, you won't be able to interact with the text box. So on the events, you do not have the control, but you can certainly manage the events, how what I can do after and before event. So that we can manage it out, but these events are internal. So these are the processes uh, for the browsers. So this is the validation. If we can take the example of web server and taking an example of server side validation and client side validation, the process is like, see, you can see the process callbacks are in the server side validations, process callbacks are 3. However, in the web client side validations, process callbacks are only 1. And it only 1. So what happens in the server side validations, and what increases the server side validation callbacks? Whenever user submits to the form, it requesting to the server that please validate this form first, and then giving back the result, and again hitting back to the thing. So this is the validation, and all other stuff residing at the web server increases the callbacks. And due to that as well, the page performance and page loading time is getting higher. So processing time getting higher. So if you can see in the web client side validation, so client side validation is performed on the user's computer, means in the browser level. So whenever anything wrong inputs will be there, first of all, browser will handle it at its own way, and then after everything is passed, then web server will be checking. So you can see we have already improved the performance of the web application using the validation, how we can place the validation at what side. So, but for the performing the validation as well, the DOM document object model permission should be there. So why the validation happens is because of the browser giving the permission to the objects and of the DOM objects to interact with the live our page. So in this case, input type of text, if we are placing the required, so what browser will do actually, browser will give the instruction to the input control object, input control document object, that please look at this variable, it is required or not. So internally, rendering engine and browser engine will perform some of the actions using the DOM events and all that, and give you a result. So this is the concept of the document object model. So is there any questions into the DOM?
Hello.
No, Milind, it's clear. Yeah, Shweta.
Yes, students, please write down in a chat if you have any question.
Okay, so we should continue, right? We
Yes,
can.
Yes,
students,
yes.
yes.
Okay. So the main concept of the single page application is a DOM manipulation. The concept is the DOM manipulation, but before manipulating the DOM, we should have a clear idea of what is DOM. So now I think all have the clear idea of the DOM, and most of the students are well aware of interacting with the HTML pages and CSS pages, but they do not aware of the concept of the DOM. So this is the main thing why I have introduced this DOM concept, and it will help you a lot while you go go at the industry level. So at that time, your concept will be more clear for this type of while you are developing the web application. And there is a lot in DOM as well, but at the basics as a basic, this is enough for starting with the single page application. So the second most important concept, and why the single page application nowadays most popular, it is due to the ES6. So what is ES6? It actually is ES6 is like ECMA standard. So if you can go into the browser and type what is ECMA, so you can probably know the very big name that I am just opening here, that is ECMA, European Computer Manufacture Association. That is it is an institution, but it has developed one big standard which is related to the scripting. So it is related to the ECMA script. The ECMA script is responsible for handling the JavaScript updation and introducing a new concept into the JavaScript, and avoiding the any pitfalls, avoiding of any challenges happened into the JavaScript level. So in the JavaScript, we only have the var variable. We can only include the JavaScript using a script tag and all that. But now with the ECMA script and all the advanced JavaScript, we can have we can do a lot more things into the application. So which are the main concepts of So which are the main things Java ES6 has introduced? So if the students, if all the students are aware of the server side libraries like the .NET, server side frameworks like .NET and PHP and any other Java, so it has all the functionalities like classes, modules, enums, and if you are working with APIs, there is a task threading. All these mechanisms are already there. So previously in the Java, previously we will be having application developed at the server side only. So everything is developed at the server side. At that time, we do not require such things to be developed at the JavaScript level. So previously, if you can go into the JavaScript side, you cannot create a class, you cannot create a scope variables, you cannot create modules which can be imported into the second file, like the namespaces. Modules and module loaders are the namespaces and usings. So modules are the namespace we can consider, and module loaders are we can consider as a usings. So in the .NET concept. So these are the things we will be required. We can say that ECMA script or ES6, that is the new JavaScript, comes with the object-oriented programming JavaScript. We can say in the single term. So these are the functions: the arrows, classes, enhance object, literals. These are the concepts which, and there are much more, which are much more than which are listed here. So we can go one by one. So what are the variables and declaration? So might be if you will be having experience in the JavaScript, you probably having an experience of var keyword, var. So var keyword is like the only way if we declare a variable and use it in the variable. But the pitfall of the var variable is the global. It will declare a scope of the variable at the global level only. So what are the challenges faced during the JavaScript application if we use the var variable into the single page application? So if we are defining any variable at the global level, so component, and if single page application is developed using the component based architecture in mind, so one component have variable a using var a, and the second component has also the same name with the var a. So at that time, it will share the same memory variable, same value at the same component. So it will create uh, uh, a very disturbing behavior from user that I am getting the old value for the say for the different component or different page. So for that reason, the let and constant keywords are come, which lets us to declare the variable using the scope. So scope is like if we are declaring the variable using let keyword, it has the scope only with that curly braces. So if in the considering example, if the given example, if I am placing a variable using let in the for loop, the scope of I variable is only limited to that for loop. But in difference, if you are using the for where I is equal to 0 for the for loop, the for where I is equal to 0, that I variable will be a global one. So that's where we have avoided that anomalies and the ECMA has introduced the let keyword. The constant keyword is like whenever you are developing any application, it should not be we only do not develop the application, but we are always keep certain things in mind that the programming fundamental as well to avoid the developers understanding. Like const itself says that the value of the variable will not be changed. So if you are using pi pi value as a 3.14 3.14 as a let variable, the developer will not understand that these value will is a constant. So he might change that variable for he might use that variable for other purpose as well. So at that time, your purpose, the one developer which has certainly put 3.14 value might be getting a problem for other developer. So that's why the const keyword is introduced. The constant itself says that this value will never be changed in future. So that where the constant and it will never be used. So it will be only reassigning again and using that value. So these are the modules. So what are the modules? Modules are the important exports. The same concept is what in the .NET is usings and the namespaces. Likewise, if you wanted to use the first or default, single or default linQ operations, you wanted to import using system.linQ library into your class file. The same way the imports and exports are introduced here. So there is one library, there is one JS file, there is one JS file we have created for the sum variable, and we export this function as an export keyword. So what export keyword is actually doing is export keyword will expose this sum variable sum function to all over the whole over the application, so that everyone can understand, everyone can use it. So the using of this sum function is using the import function. So whenever you wanted to use that sum function, you have to import it likewise the library. So you have to import whatever you wanted to import it to specific file and just use it. So this is the same concept we are using at the server side that is related to the namespaces and grouping of the libraries and assemblies. Assembly, we can say the different concept, but grouping of libraries and namespaces and usings. So these are the classes. Yes, as I told everyone that this JavaScript is more over the object-oriented programming script. So here we can do everything what we are doing at the backend as well. So here we can implement the inheritance concept, interface concept, uh, and we can use define the constructor. We can define even super constructor, hierarchical classes, everything. We can do the static classes as well. To see, this is the class. This class contains this manager class contains the constructor with the and the proper. It has a property of first name, last name, and bonus. And we can have the first name and last name already have in the employee class. So extends the employee class is already the concept of the inheritance and interface. So interface we do not have right now demonstrated to you, but it if you wanted to use the interface, then you have to use it with the implements keyword, not the extends keyword. Extends is something like the inheritance, but imports is something like implements is like the interfaces. So same keyword is what we are familiar with the .NET side libraries. While you are defining the class, you define it with the public class and static class and implements and extends. But here the extends keywords come at there, only the column is there to extend the classes. So here we have the partial class concept as well and the static classes. So everything the object oriented programming concept has everything involved in the ES6 JavaScript as well. So these are the arrow functions. So arrow functions is what? So here you can see that where odds is equal to evens dot map v this arrow function. This arrow is actually a very coming with the this keyword. So what is this? You can see this dot name. This dot name is like the where keyword. So arrow function is let you access the current object, current value of the property, current value of the class, which is accessing at the map level or which is accessing at any iterator level. So here you can say that events dot map v arrow v plus 1. So what it does is it will be incrementing the variable with the v plus 1. So, and the numbers is it will be incrementing v plus I. So it is giving the sum of v and I and reassigning to the events list. But what in case of the Bob variable? So here we have here you can see that name variable assigned with the Bob string, and the friends variable is an empty array. So while you are having a function which is actually accessing which wants the access of this name variable, and if you wanted to use it with these keyword at that time, and if you are using the iterators at that time, these arrow functions are coming. These arrow functions are the similar concepts how we are using it into the LINQ. So LINQ queries, all lambda queries we can say. So these are the lambda queries and lambda expressions we are using into the .NET side. The same concept here it is called as a arrow functions. So I think most of the things you will get an idea. So the promises. This is the most important concept while you are working into the single page application, that is the promises. What is promises itself says that if I am keeping the promise, I will fulfill this. So what promises, what type of promises we can develop in the single page application? Like if you wanted to give the timer and you wanted to do something, that if timer if after 10 seconds I wanted to do something, so at that time you will define one promise that if the timeout of 10 seconds will expire, then I wanted to do this, and that task, if that task is also completed, then also I wanted to do this. So that chaining will happen. So this chaining process will be a promising process. So this chaining process will called as a promise. So this is called this is the thing, the timeout of 1000 seconds. Then I wanted to return timeout of 2000 seconds, and then I wanted to throw an error. And during this promise, if anything happens, that will be cached into the catch callback. So again, if I can compare these again, I can this concept with the .NET side. So this is the try catch stuff. we can say. Try this, and if anything happens, do this. Otherwise, then is the fire. Then you do this, and catch is like the catch block of the try catch. And here we will be having the finally block as well. So most of the concepts are the similar with the .NET concepts. You have to just keep your mind sharp with the keywords and the concept which are different over there, but the working of the both are same. So iterators and for of, the iterators are the same things what we will be having in the most of the programming languages, but here there is one iterator introduced, that is the for of. That is if we wanted to well, iterate on the single variable. It is not the iteration, it is the single variable. That is the powers of 2 is the one value, not a array of value, or not of the iterators. So power of 2 is a single variable, that is the 2, 3, 4, 5. So if until the n variable is not reached to the 1024, this value will be iterated on the single value. So the single value iterator is also comes into the picture in the ES6 standard. So yes, so there is the second concept as well, the transpiler. So what are the transpiler basically?
Milind, we have a question regarding your previous topics. One of the question is there any limitations of import? You show that import topic 1, that import destructor. Is there any limitations of there? And another one question is with the promises. Okay, what is the best way of using promises? Resolve, reject, or then keyword?
Then yes, the best way of using the promises is using the resolve and reject. But there is other advanced concept is also coming, that is the it comes with the promises, advanced level of promises like the task. So the best approach is the resolve and reject, but and this then and catch is stuff is like the JavaScript stuff. So if you are using the JavaScript, then you can use this then concept, catch concept, and if you are using the TypeScript, at that time you can use task level of async and await concept. The similar concept we'll be having at the .NET side.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, no more. You can go ahead.
Okay. So transpiler. So what are the transpiler actually? So most of the students having an concept, having a problem in the concept clarity of the compilers and what interpreters. But here the third term is also coming in the case of the single page application, that is the transpilers. So what are the transpilers? Transpilers are, first of all, transpilers are not the compilers, because the compilers are the compilers task is compiling to the general term for taking a source code written in one language and transforming into the other machine level language. So compilers work is like if we are returning any .NET code, any PHP code, its work is to convert that task into the converting it to the machine level language. So but the transpilers work is like converting a source code into one language to the one language into the another language. So that is what the transpilers do. So why this transpiler comes into the picture in the way in the single page application? So as I told you that single page application has comes with lots of complex development. Yes, even though we can say that single page application are very faster interactive, but faster interactive development website, but the development of the single page application is very much complex concepts involved. So this is where the transpiler comes. Transpiler's work is converting your JavaScript code, which is written into the TypeScript, JavaScript, and HTML code, into the browser level language, so that the browser can understand what you have written it. So that's where the ES6 transpilers come. There are mainly four JavaScript transpilers used: the Bubblify, Tracer compiler, and ES6 C5. So these tracer compiler do not confuse it with the compiler term. It is just a name they have given for their transpiler, but their work is compiling your JavaScript into the ES6 library, ES6 browser understandable code, so that browser can understand. Browser do not understand your JavaScript code. Browser understand the ES6 and ECMA standards on which browser is working. So there are other things as well needs to be taken care. Likewise, there are some browsers have limitations that some of the single page application not be loaded. Some of the browser like Internet Explorer has always having a problem of loading the single page application because of JavaScript incompatibility, because Internet Explorer is not written into the standard of ES6. So the browser which are nowadays all the modern browser are written into the ES standards, but the browser which are not written into the ES, that is the ECMA standard, based on the ECMA standard, will not understand your application. So that's where the polyfills come. So polyfills are the additional libraries let your browser understand your code. That these if your browser does not understand does not have any internal engine, at that time it will request to the polyfills that give me the polyfills so that I can understand your website and load your website quickly. So that at that time code these are the polyfills mainly available in the market for loading the website into the incompatible browsers. So what are the tools and editors are available? You can write up your single page application or any front end applications. You can use it. That is the Atom editor, WebStorm, Sublime, and Visual Studio Code. Seriously, we can having a lots of packages available in the Atom, but nowadays Visual Studio Code is lot getting having packages, and all the compatibilities and all the plugins are available in the Visual Studio Code. So we can go with the best editor, we can say, as per my experience, is Atom and the Visual Studio Code, as per the plugin availability and formatting and every other stuff. So what are the ES next? So ES6 is a standard, that is ECMA standard, that is the version 6. But whenever ECMA Institute writes the ECMA standard, means ES6 versions, at that time they are also keeping the development of next future expansion as well. That is that will called as a ES next version of the JavaScript. That is also the valid version of the JavaScript, because browser will be written based on the new features which are the ECMA will introduce. So if you are getting any update of Mozilla Firefox updates, Chrome browser updates, so that is what due to these ES Next features introduced every time. So they are keeping support of the ES features every time and improving their browser engine based on the concepts introduced by the ECMA. So every browser has to follow the ECMA Institute standards. So if you have any question on this session, we can discuss it.
Yeah.
Hello.
Thank you, Milind. Yeah. Yeah, Shweta, over to you.
Uh,
Yes.
Hello. Yes, students. There is a one question, Milin sir. Is Dome is responsible for updating the data without reloading the website?
Yes. DOM is responsible for updating the data without reloading the website. But
Okay.
but with DOM, but with the DOM, there are other concepts are also involved. That is, I explained, that is the observables and other stuffs.
Okay. 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 Okay, students. Any other question from anyone? And I hope that I had shared the link with you people in chat box for giving a feedback for today's session. And I thank you, all the students, all the faculties who are attending this session today. And hopefully, I thought that you all had got a good knowledge, the basic things today regarding the React.js as well as the other things used with it. And I like to thank to our resource person, Milind sir, for giving his precious time. And we will like you to join you all tomorrow also. And the YouTube link will be again mailed to you on your mail address you had provided. As well as today we had seen that so many students had taken a good interest part regarding this. So I hope the more participants tomorrow, and we will continue tomorrow on the same time, 10 o'clock. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Milin sir. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for arranging such a session. So, if there are any feedback or any questions still you will be having, just paste it to me. I will giving you answer via mail as well, so that you can pass it to the students as well by tomorrow.
Okay, sir. Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. So we are ending here.
Yes. Yes.